Hi everyone, welcome back to Jaipur Code Crafters. In this video, we are doing a quick and clear revision of key OOP concepts for IBDP Computer Science Paper 2, including classes, object, constructor, getter, setter, and array of objects. These are must-know topics for writing clean IBDP exam-ready Java code. And if you find this helpful, please subscribe this channel. So I'm starting this class. So you all know in your paper 2, on Monday, we will have paper 5th May 2025. You will have IBDP paper 2 of computer science. You will have 4 options, but this video is only for option D. Option D, object-oriented programming. So this is option D. One by one, we will discuss all these topics. This is your computer science guide, and it contains all the important topic on which your paper will be based on these topics basically. So I will try to explain you things in a practical manner. So first question, and very obvious question, like every year IBDP is asking this question, not every year, but every alternate years, the general nature of an object. So we will discuss this, but before knowing the object, you should know what is class. So we are discussing all these concepts. So again, I'll come back to this computer science guide syllabus, but before this, you must know some basics. So I'm starting the whiteboard. So object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming languages are based on few features. The first one is encapsulation. Second is inheritance. The polymorphism. Abstraction. Modularity. Classes and object concept can come under this encapsulation, but I'm making it different feature, classes and object. Your paper will revolve around these features, and one by one, I will explain you everything, and we will start from classes. But first, you need to understand what is this object-oriented programming. What are the examples? So Java is an example of object-oriented programming. Python is also an example of object-oriented programming. C#, C++. But C language is not a object-oriented programming. It is a procedural programming language. So why we introduce object-oriented programming language, and what were the disadvantage of procedural programming, you have to understand. In procedural programming, if you are writing one program, then every next instruction depends on previous one. This means if there is any problem in any specific line of code, the entire program will crash. So this was the problem. And so to resolve this issue, object-oriented programming came in a picture. And in object-oriented programming, what we were doing, we are creating separate modules. So this is module 1, this is module 2. So the functionalities are divided into various modules, various subsystems. We can say the procedural language follow bottom-up approach, where each next line depends on previous one. But in object-oriented programming is based on top-down approach. So top-down approach means you are dividing your big system into various subsystems, and all these subsystems are independent. So if something is wrong in any one subsystem, it will not have an adverse effect on subsystem 2. So we are having multiple different modules, and if something is wrong in one module, they will not have any bad impact on module 2 and module 3. So this was the concept, and one by one, in a theoretical manner and in a practical manner, you will understand the meaning of all these features, plus objects, and you will understand practical features, basically how practically you can achieve encapsulation. And theoretically, IBDP can ask you define encapsulation, and they can ask you write the advantages of encapsulation. But in your syllabus, you have one more question about the object oriented programming disadvantage. So we will discuss that also. So the very first topic is classes and object. So I'm going to explain classes and object to you. First, you have to understand class. Now I will discuss only those things which are important for this upcoming exam. First, you need to understand what is this class. So class is nothing. It is just a blueprint. So I don't need to write. We already have notes. So you can see these are my notes. So definition of class is very important for this exam. And what you will write? Class is just a blueprint or template for creating object. And what is object? Object is a real world entity. Object is a real world entity having some characteristics and behavior. Having some characteristics and behavior. So class is just a blueprint or template. For example, if I'm saying this person has taken my pen, so person is something, but it is not a real. I'm not talking about any real person. But if I'm saying Mr. David has taken my pen, this means Mr. David is actually a real world entity. So Mr. David is something who exists. This is real world entity. Okay, but if I'm saying this person has taken my pen, in this statement, okay, one picture will come in our mind. Okay, maybe someone who has two hands, two legs, having some complexion, hair color, eye color, weight, height. But the clear picture is not there. It is just a blueprint. Same way, if I'm using term employee, this employee is traveling from Mumbai to Delhi. So again, we are not sure which employee. So employee is just a blueprint. It's just a general thing. Okay, if I'm saying student, this student is asking for leave. So again, student is just a general. It's just a template. We are not talking about any specific person. Okay, so these words are very general, and we are not sure what we are talking about. So all these things are just a blueprint. If I'm taking name of someone, Bob has taken my pen, then this means this person is real world entity. Okay, so class is just a blueprint or template of, we can write, of real world entity known as object. So if this question will come in your exam, you can write this definition. This can come of 2 marks. If this question defined classes will come in your exam, you will just write of 1 mark. You will just write class is a blueprint of real world entity known as object. But if this question will come of 2 marks, then my suggestion is you will write a class is a blueprint. You will write this definition as it is, plus you will explain these terms in context of given scenario. So I'm going to open one paper also, one past year paper. So I will tell you this concept in context of that past paper, that scenario. So you can see I have opened this paper. This is paper of November 2020. So in this paper, option D starts from here, from page number 12 for SL students. You can see they are giving one scenario. A company provides car parking service in large city and need a computer system to keep track of the number of vehicles using its parking area. When a vehicle arrives, its registration plate is recorded on the system and it is allocated a number that defines where it should park. When the vehicle leaves, that space is made available for other vehicles to use. Vehicles are identified by their unique registration plate, which is an alphanumeric code of 8 characters. This is clearly displayed on the vehicle. A programmer created the classes parking area and vehicle to model the above situation. So you can see public class parking area. This is the class and we have some properties inside the class. So again, the same thing. If they will ask you define class and it is of 2 marks. So my suggestion is that whether they are asking or not, you should in 1 mark, you should define the class, and in another point you will write here in a given scenario parking area and vehicle is a class. So this is my suggestion. Now let's come to next topic, what is object and how we can create it. First you have to so you now you are understanding in a theoretical manner what is class, how you will give answer if it is of 1 mark or 2 mark, but if at the same time you should know how to create class in Java. So in Java, this is the syntax of creating classes. You will write public class, class name. This class name is a valid identifier. This is valid identifier. And then start and close. So here you can declare some variable. So variable declarations will be here and method definitions. So method definitions are here. Why I'm recording this session? I'm considering you are done with your IBDP year 1 and year 2. We are doing just revision classes. So I will not explain detail of how to construct method, how to construct variable. We are just doing revision for paper 2. So you can see public class, class name. Class name is a valid identifier. What is identifier? Identifiers are the user-defined words. User-defined words. So you will decide what name you want to give your class name. So this is the way of creating classes. So you can see in this part, I have create one class, author. In the author class, I am creating these 3 things, name, email, and book. So I'm not discussing array of object concept right now. Name and email are the private instance variable, are the private instance variable. So whenever you are declaring any variable in a class scope, you can see class starts from here at this point. Your class starts here and your class ends here. So in this part, whenever you are declaring any variable outside above all the methods, we call them instance variable. We call them instance variables. So these are the instance variable name and email. I will come to this section later. This is array. If you are going to run this file, if I'm going to run this file, you can see nothing will happen. Why nothing is happening? Because author is itself nothing. It is just a blueprint. It is just a blueprint or template. You cannot execute any class unless you are creating object of this class, because object is a real world entity. With the help of object, you can access properties of any class. Now, so you can see this is the author class and this is the book class. In the book class, I have only 3 instance variable: title, pages, and price. And this is the driver class. So you can see whenever you are creating any project, in the project, automatically one class with the same name will be created, and it has public static void main. So this is the execution point of compiler. It is an execution point of Java compiler. So whenever you will run your project, your execution starts from here. Your execution starts from here and your execution ends at this point. So whatever you want to do, you should do it here. So whenever I'm going to run this project, I'm just clicking this run, build successful. Build successful means there is no error, everything is right, but nothing is happening. So why nothing is happening? Why I'm not able to execute code of author class? Because I didn't create object. So if you want to access properties of any class, you should know how to create object. So the syntax of creating object is, you will write class name, you will write the object, whatever name you want to give for the object. So basically it is a identifier. Identifier, then equal to new class name, and then bracket start and close and semicolon. You have to learn this syntax because they can ask you in IBDP exam, they will give you 2-3 classes. They can ask you construct a code. They will ask question like this way. Construct a code to create an instance of class author. Let's say they can give you any class. So they are providing you any class and they are asking you to create an instance. So please be aware, instance is a different word and instance variables are different. Instance variables are the variables which are declared inside a class scope, which are declared inside a class scope, whereas instance is another name of object. So basically this question is asking you to create an object. So whenever they will ask you to create an object, you will follow this syntax. So with the help of this syntax, I'm creating object of author class. So author, let's say author, small author, new author, and then bracket start and close and semicolon. And it is giving error because, okay, I will explain this constructor thing. Now you can see there is no error. So I have created object. What is this? This is object. And now what is the meaning of all this stuff? New is a keyword in Java. New is a keyword in Java which is used to allocate memory at runtime, which is used to allocate memory at runtime. So new is a keyword in Java which is used to allocate memory at runtime. So I told you that object is a real world entity. It exists in memory, but class will not exist until unless you are creating object. So at this moment, what will happen in a primary memory RAM? Somewhere one cell will be allocated with the name author, and this thing is pointing class property. So what you have in a class author? So you can see in the author class, you have the name, you have the email. For now, I'm considering we don't have this thing. So I'm just commenting this part. So we have name and email. So the name is occupying memory at this moment. So whenever you are writing this big code of a class, it is actually not occupying memory. Memory will be given at the moment when you are creating object of this class. So once you are creating object, this new keyword, what new keyword is doing? It is giving memory to all the class properties. So name is the class property, email is a class property, and there are various methods which are inside a class property. They will also occupy some space. So let's say this entire part of memory starts from the address 2AB. Why I'm writing 2AB? Because it's a hexadecimal number. Memory address is always a hexadecimal number. So if this part starts from 2AB, then this means this cell is storing 2AB. And by this way, it is very clear that object is a referential variable. Object is a referential variable, it always hold address of another variable. So it is always holding the memory address. So that's why we call it referential variable. And why we are calling variable? Because you can see what is class. Another definition of class, another technical definition of class can be, it's a user-defined data type. So class is a user-defined data type and object is a variable of type class. And what kind of variable it is? Referential. In the author is a variable. It is taking some memory in the RAM. But we can't store 2 inside this because it's an integer. We can't store 2.1. It is not a double or float. We can't store string. We can't store true, false because it is not Boolean. We can store only and only address of something, address of some other part of memory. So that's why object is also always a referential variable. And I can prove my point if I'm going to print it here. This author, small author, in a small case, which is our object name. If I'm going to run it, so you can see, look at the number, what number it is showing. 28A418FC. It's a hexadecimal number because it's a memory address. So this means at this moment, your class has been created. Class properties are occupying space. And this process is known as instantiation. So, and this is the favorite question of IB from my side, because like in every next paper, you can find this question since 2014. Differentiate class and instantiation. What is the difference between class and instantiation? So instantiation is actually the process of creating new object, in the memory, whereas class is just a blueprint. If something is blueprint or template, means it is not occupying any memory. Class is not occupying any memory because it is just a blueprint, and template comprises data and method, but it is not occupying memory. But once you are creating object of this class, this process is known as instantiation, and we are occupying some memory for this class property. So this is all about class and object. Now, in your class, you have lots of method and variable. So all the class property, whatever class properties you have, whatever variables and methods you have inside the class, whenever you are creating multiple object, this is author 1, let's say author 2, they will have their own copy of this class property. So every object will have their own separate copy of class property. And I'm going to prove this thing as well, but I'll do it later. First, now the next topic is how to access class property. Now, next topic is how to access class properties. So you can see, if I'm going to print private properties, if you are going to access private properties, you want to access private property. So the first is you have to learn the syntax. You will just write object. Then you will write dot and the property name. This is the syntax of accessing property. So what is the object? Object is author. Small case, dot. You are trying to find email, but it is giving you error. You can see email has private access. So you have to keep this point in your mind. If any of the property is private, you can see sometime it is private, sometime it is public, sometime it is nothing. You can see here I'm not using anything, but most of the time in IBDP exam, you will find all the methods public. But it is absolutely correct if I'm not providing any access specifier or modifier here. So if your class property is private, first you have to understand what are these topics. These things are come under modifiers. So modifiers are the topic in your syllabus, and if they are asking you describe any two modifiers, these are the modifiers: public, private. Default and protected are also there. Default, protected. So these four things are also known as access specifiers. In modifiers, you have static and final also. So we will discuss them later. Now, first you just need to understand only public and private. Other things I will discuss later once I will teach you inheritance. If your property is private, means it cannot be accessible outside the class. It cannot be accessible outside the class. Outside the class. And whenever they will ask you encapsulation in your exam, you will use this term in your answer. Private, you have to describe private keyword whenever they are asking you define encapsulation. They are asking you tell us any two advantage of encapsulation. You have to define this private keyword, because encapsulation means we are wrapping up our data. We are wrapping our data and methods into a single unit. We are wrapping data and methods into a single unit known as class. So encapsulation means wrapping up data and methods into a single unit as a class. So we can see class is treated as a wrapper, and inside this wrapper you are keeping your data and methods safe. But how you are keeping them safe from the outside world? With the help of private keyword. So if you are creating few things private, means your sensitive data, you don't want to give direct access of this data to someone else outside this class, you will make it private. So by using private keyword, we can define encapsulation as well. If something is public, it is accessible from outside. So indirectly, you can access your private properties with the help of this public methods. Now, so that's why this email is giving error, because email was private. Now, how you will, for example, okay, email is not accessible outside. But what if still you want to print the value of email? So if you want to access the value of email, what you will do? You will call the accessor method of this. But first I have to check whether we have this accessor method or not. So I am writing accessor method. Now you have to understand the constructor. So constructor is very, very important topic from my side. You must know constructor. You must know each and everything about the constructor. So the very first point is constructor is a method. Constructor is a method having same name as of class, having same name as of class. It can be parameterized or non-parameterized. Because if it is a method of function, this means it must have parameter. But parameter list is optional. So it can be parameterized or non-parameterized. And if you are not providing any parameter in this method, what we call it default constructor. So default constructor is important topic. It came in 2024 examination. What is the purpose of default constructor question came. So whenever the purpose of default constructor, in fact, purpose of the constructor, the common definition is it is used to initialize. It is used to initialize values to private instance variables, or in fact any variable. It is not about private only. We can initialize values to instance variable. Another thing is that, and important, they don't have any return type. Constructor will never have any return type, not even void. And last and important thing is that it invoked, because if it is a method, this means we have to call this method, but it invoked automatically. It calls automatically once you create object of this class. So it invoked automatically once object of this class is instantiated. So this is all about constructor, and as a student you have to learn all these points, and this information is very, very, very important for you. So now I will prove this point. It invoked automatically once object is instantiated. So you can see here we are creating object. Now let's go to the author class. Look at this. What is this? This is a method. It looks like a method. You can see it's a method. This is a method. So method means the access specifier public. This void is the return type. This is the name of book. This is the name of the method. This is the parameter list. So you can see the method has the same name as of class. You can see no return type, because here the return type is a string. Here the return type is void. Here the return type is void. But in these methods, there is no return type. It can be parameterized. You can see it is parameterized. Here it is not parameterized. So this means this thing is a default constructor. It is a default constructor. It invokes automatically once you instantiate the object of this class. And I'm going to prove this point. So I'm just printing something here in default constructor. So you can see for now I'm going to comment this line. So in this is the execution. From this point the execution starts. So you can see whenever I'm going to run this project, in default constructor is printed. So what it proves? It is proving that once you are creating the object, it calls the constructor automatically, and once object is created and it is instantiated, so in a primary memory RAM, somewhere we have author, and this author is pointing name. But right now, because of default constructor, it is null, and the email is also null. And this space is for methods, whatever methods you have in the class. Now I'm going to create another object. Author1 is equal to new author. Author is a class name, capital A. Here I am passing name, let's say David, and let's say email is david@gmail.com, and then semicolon. So you can see AUT1 is also created in memory. AUT1 is the another object. Once it is created in memory, it will have its own copy of name, its own copy of email and methods. But look at this. Whenever you are instantiating this method, whenever you are instantiating this object, what kind of constructor it is calling? Go back. It is calling parameterized constructor. You can see, because at the time of object creation, you are not leaving this bracket blank. You are providing David and something. So once you are instantiating, this variable will be replaced by David, and this email will be replaced by david@gmail.com. So for AUT1, name is David, and this email is david@gmail.com. Now let's come back, and again I'm going to prove this point that every object will have its own copy of a class property, because if I'm calling get email with the help of author, it will print something. And if I'm calling get email with the help of AUT1, it will print something. You can see. If I'm going to print private, I'm just writing, let me change the message. This is author 1 and this is author 2. So because we have two authors here, author 2. So you can see, when I'm trying to call get email with the help of author, this is the object. So whenever this object is calling get email, it will access they have their own copy of email. So it is accessing its property email, which is null. But when AUT1 is calling get email, AUT1 email belongs to David. So David is printed here for AUT1. So I'm proving this point. Every object will have their own copy of class properties. So, and this is the beauty of object-oriented programming. You are writing this class only once. You are writing your performer, your blueprint only once, but you can call it multiple times for different inputs by creating objects. So different objects has been created, and they have their own copy, but we are writing the class only once. So reusability is the main advantage of object-oriented programming. Reusability, why reusability? You are writing the methods and properties only one, but all the objects are sharing this property with different values. Now, the next topic is, so I hope you are understanding constructor. So you can see in this class, we are using two constructors. This is default constructor. This is default constructor, and it will invoke automatically once you are creating object like this way. New author. Bracket start and close. So this line means we are calling this constructor. When you are creating another object, let's say B, new author, and you are providing some value here like Bob, and then any Gmail, let's say XYZ @gmail.com. This means because at the time of creation of this object, you are passing something in a parameter, so it will call the parameterized constructor with these values. So for this object, the name of the author is this that you are calling, and email is this one. And this concept is known as constructor overloading. You can see this concept is known as constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. It comes under method overloading because constructor are special kind of methods. Method overloading. And again, what feature it is? The OOP feature for this is polymorphism. Polymorphism. So in your exam, they will give you one class and they will ask you which OOP feature we are using in this class author. So you will carefully check, and you are finding that we have two methods. We have two methods with same name, but different parameter list. then this concept is known as polymorphism. Poly means many, morphism means form. So when under single name, you are able to perform multiple tasks. You are able to perform multiple tasks, then this concept is known as polymorphism. Poly means many, morphism means forms, many forms. So this is method overloading. Now, I think 1 or 2 times IBDP asked this question, how compiler will decide which method it has to execute at runtime if both the methods have same name. So in this thing, what answer you will give? Compiler will treat these methods separately on the basis of parameter list because they have different parameter list. So on the basis of different parameters, compiler will decide which method it has to execute at runtime. So it's an important question here. Now, so we are done with class till now. We are done with object till now. We are done with how to access class properties. We are done with instance variable. We are done with instantiation. Instantiation is important topic. We are done with constructor also. So constructor are invoked automatically once object is created. Now let's come to another important topic, easy but important, getter and setter method. Getter is also known as accessor and setter is also known as mutator. These are the methods. Method used to access or retrieve value of private instance variables. So I told you earlier that no one can directly access the private properties of any class. So if someone really want to get the value for any further calculation, so indirectly they can access the private instance variable with the help of getter. Mutator is also a method. Mutator is also a method which is used to modify, or assign value to private instance variable. This is important. IB can ask you to construct a code for getter or setter for any private instance variable. Sometimes in a code, they will not give you getter and setter, but we always consider. Sometimes this can also come. They are just saying there is a class, the name of that class is car, and this car has one property, number of doors, let's say number of doors. Then they can ask you, construct a code for a class, So the only information they are giving you is the name of the class is car. So you are writing public class car. Inside this, you are just creating one private variable, private int number of doors. You don't have any other information. And this question is of, let's say, 3 marks, 4 marks. So what you will write? Because they are just giving you 2 information, the name of the car, the name of the class, and the name of the instance variable. So what you will do? You will write the constructor. For this, and you will write the getter and setter method for this class. So by this way, you will get full marks. Now let's one by one discuss the format of getter and setter. So you can see getter always start with the word get. Adjoining word is always a private instance variable. It's always a private instance variable. It starts with a capital letter. You can see it is email. The E of email is in uppercase. The return type is always the same as the data type of the private instance variable. And the parameter list is always empty. Parameter list is always empty. The only code inside the getter is return statement. You are actually returning this value. So when someone outside the class will call this with the help of object out get email. So this means once we are calling this method, we are here and this thing is returning the value. So this place will be replaced by david@gmail.com. So they can ask you. Now, question from my side. Write a constructor code. They will not write constructor code for accessor method for accessor of name. So name is a private instance variable. So what you will write? You will write public. It can come in your exam. They will just change the name of instance variable and class name. So public, what should be the return type? Same as data type, string. So public string. Then get name. N is capital, bracket start and close. And we will just write one single line, this dot name. That's it. So this is the getter method. So this question can come off 3 marks in 2024 or in 2023. They ask you this kind of question. So you can see this question can be of 3 marks. I'm showing you what kind of question they can ask. You can see this is the paper. This is the paper and this is 2024 May paper. In May 2024, look at the question. There is a class rental. In the rental class, minus indicate private, plus indicate public. Number plate, brand, model, year, rental class, price per day, fuel type, transmission type. These are the variables. Look at this question. Construct the code for the accessor method get brand model. It is of 3 marks. State one mutator method to be included in the class rental. So because this question is of only 1 mark, we don't need to write the entire code because they are just saying state. So state, we can take any variable, let's say year. So what you will write? We will just write the first line, but I will teach you this mutator later through the code. First, we are doing this get because it's a getter. This is the accessor method and it is of 3 marks. So what you will write? You will write public. Methods are always public in your IBDP syllabus. We will most of the time keep methods public. What is this brand model? Brand model is a private instance variable. And what is the data type? String. So that's why the return type of accessor method is string. The name of the method is get brand model because it always starts from get. Adjoining word is always start from capital. The only line that you will write inside this, you are returning that private instance variable. So you are returning get return brand model. Just return brand model. This is the code and you will get 3 marks for this. Now let me come to the mutator or setter. So mutator are used to assign values to private instance variable. So obviously they are public because we are doing something with the private variable from the outside. Return type is always void. They always start from this word set. We call them mutator. Set. Let's say I am going to write setter for variable name. Then I am in the parameter list. There must be one variable. And here I am writing this dot name is equal to name. This is the mutator. So this is the code of mutator. This line. The return type in mutator is always void. because they will never return any value. They will never return any value. They always start with a set. The adjoining letter, the adjoining word is always the private instance variable. Inside a parameter, you must have one parameter, and this parameter is holding the value, the new value that you want to assign to your private instance variable. So you are using this variable and you are giving it to the instance variable. Now here I can recall one important question from this setter method or from this line of code. Why keyword this? Why keyword this is necessary here from line this to this. So in any form they can ask why we are writing this keyword. So you should have a knowledge about this keyword. This is a keyword in Java. It is a keyword in Java. It is a keyword in Java which is used to refer class properties. So maybe this language looks weird, but I can prove this language. Let me not remove this. So you can see in this method, I'm creating one variable, integer, let's say temporary variable, integer temp with value 0. Now, if I'm going to write this dot temp here, this dot temp equal to 99, then it's giving error. But if I'm using this dot name, this dot email, they are not giving error. If I'm writing this dot email equal to something, it is not giving error. So sometimes this is giving error and sometimes not. Why? Because this keyword is used to refer only class properties. Class property. What you have inside a class. Let's say there is a class. This is the class author. So inside the author class, what all properties you have? Inside the author class, you have these two variables. You have this constructor, you have this constructor, you have get email, get name, set name, add book. So these are the class property. Whenever you are creating any class, any XYZ class, you have some variables and you have some methods. Only this portion is known as class property because it is inside a class. But if you are creating something inside a method, then this is local variable. It is actually a local variable. Local variables are those variables which are declared inside a class, and their scope is limited to that particular method. So now again, let's come to the definition why this keyword is necessary here. Okay, because sometimes you can see, sometimes I'm not using this, sometimes I'm not using this dot email, this dot name. But why it is necessary here? You can see, look at the parameter. You are creating actually one variable here inside the parameter. So this variable is treated as a local variable because this variable is created here in a method. So it's a local variable. It is declared inside a method and its scope is limited to that particular method, because once we will come out from the method, this variable will release the memory. But the instance variable always persist. They are accessible anywhere in the class. So to make a difference between local variable, this is local variable and this is instance variable. Instance variable means its scope is limited to the class. Its scope is within the class. Within a class. So you are putting this in front of name, then it indicates it's an instance variable. You are not putting this in front of local variable. So this is the difference. So here, this keyword is necessary this keyword is necessary here because it creates, because it is creating a difference, because it is creating a difference between local variable and instance variable. Variable as both have same name. I can show you this question, I think came in 2020 paper. So I'm not sure. Let me cross check quickly. So this is 2020 paper, parking area. Yes, outline why it is necessary to use the keyword this in the sat broken method of the vehicle class. So look at the vehicle class. This is the vehicle class. This is a vehicle class. Where is the sat broken method? This is the sat broken method. You can see broken is a variable of type boolean. It is local. It is local variable. This broken is an instance variable because they are created inside a class scope. So to create a difference between the instance variable and local variable, you are providing copy of local variable to your instance variable. Look at this code. Construct code to create an instance. Instance means object of the vehicle class that has a registration of this. So this means here in this question, you have to create an object of vehicle class, but with some registration. Now look at this. Do you have any constructor, matching constructor? So you can see in the vehicle class, you have this constructor, which is a default constructor. It's a default constructor. This is parameterized constructor. Again, we have this parameterized constructor. So you have basically three constructor here. So it's a concept of polymorphism. It's a concept of polymorphism, constructor overloading. And which is best suited here? This one, because it has only one parameter. So whenever you will write answer of that question, construct a code to create an instance. So class name is vehicle, object is name, let's say V equal to new, then again class name, because at the time of object creation, they are asking, at the time of object creation, they are asking that has a registration x123. So because registration of type is string, so we are passing this value in double quotes, x123 4 5 6 7. So this is the answer. This can be the answer of this. Okay, so this is done. This is done. Relationship we will discuss later. Now, let's come back to this question of 2024 May again. State one mutator method, that method to be included in the rental class. So rental class, it is of 1 marks. So it's okay if you are writing just initial line. Public return type is always void, set, year, or anything. It's not you are not bounded to write the mutator for year. You can create setter method or mutator for any of these variable. Year in bracket, always one parameter for this parameter value. This parameter variable will hold the value, the new value that you want to assign to your private instance variable. So int year, and then this dot year. This dot year means instance variable. So you are taking private instance variable here and this value here and bracket. But in this question, you will just write the, in fact, if you are just writing sat year, bracket int year, then also it is okay. Then if you are just writing sat year, int year, then also it is fine. So you can see I was talking about this, but I will come to this question once I will start inheritance. So in today's class, what we covered how to create classes, how to create objects, how to access properties of any class, using object. We have covered constructor. We covered getter and setter. In next class, we will cover array of objects.